Good morning, Facebook. I'm here for you. Good morning, Instagram. I'm here for you too. Good morning, YouTube. I'm here for you too. And good morning, Periscope. So this is a podcast by yours truly, George Xavier Love. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine, licensed acupuncture physician, and the Grand Master of Qinglong Qigong, which is the Blue Dragon Immortal Qigong. In ancient times, the Chinese lived to be around 6 decades. And yet there were people who lived 9 and 10 decades. And those people were called the Immortals. So the Li family, back in the early 1700s, compiled a set of exercises which they called immortality exercises. The dragon represents immortality. And the blue-green color reveals calm and peace. So the Blue Dragon Immortal, the Qinglong Qigong, is to create or cultivate immortality. So the Ask Dr. Love podcast. Why are you asking Dr. Love when you know that love is already the answer? What is your question about Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbs, massage, superfoods, food therapy, elixirs, and your health? So I will answer personal questions about your health and anything to do with Asian medicine or Eastern philosophy. You can go to, for the replay of this broadcast, you can go to anchor.fm/AskDrLove, or you can go to Ask Google, Ask Dr. Love podcast, or Hey Siri, play Ask Dr. Love podcast, or Hey Alexa, play Ask Dr. Love podcast. So we're available everywhere, whatever your favorite podcast station is, whether it's Radio Play or whether it's iTunes, no matter what your podcast platform is, you will find Ask Dr. Love there. Now, today is day 7 of the 21 days to be well. And today is the last day where we're juicing for breakfast and dinner. Starting tomorrow, we're supposed to juice 4 times a day. So those people who want to join us, it's not too late. You can start today or tomorrow. So Monday, we can go to the 4 times a day. So I want to let you know that I'm an expert in 6 different areas. And one of the areas that I'm an expert in is mental wellness. I went to Boulder, Colorado to study Tibetan psychiatry. I went to China to study Chinese medicine psychiatry. My Qigong master taught me Taoist psychology. And through my independent study with many, many teachers, I came up with the understanding that it is all in your mind. It is absolutely in your mind. But the mind is connected to the body. We call that the body-mind. The mind is connected to the heart. We call that the heart-mind. And then we call this the divine mind. Body, heart, divine. So we are animal, we are human, and we are divine. Tonight, I'm going to do a special webinar, the formula for mental wellness. And I'm going to go into great detail tonight. So right now, I'm just going to give you a few highlights of what you're going to learn in the webinar this evening. So, we are mammals. We give live birth. We're actually animals. But we are also human. And I've created a new definition for human. And I want you to consider it, play with it, run it past whatever you already believe, talk to some of your other friends and say, is this correct? As humans, we are creative and we are creators. As humans, we practice cooperation. And as humans, we communicate on higher levels. So we are creative, cooperative communicators. That's what makes us human. And then we are divine because as creators, creating of boy babies and girl babies, oh, you're a guy, you're not a girl, so you really can't create anything except through cooperation and communication. So if you were going to anthropomorphize God, that's a 50-cent word. If you're going to make God in the image of man, it would be a woman, because women can produce boy babies and girl babies. So think about that for a second. Men have redundant breasts. What do men have breasts for? Well, there's a whole conversation I don't want to go into right now. I want to keep it about mental wellness. So the formula, I'm going to give you the formula, but I'm not going to break it down and explain it to you until this evening. The formula is your chip plus your app equals your OS. And we all know that OS stands for operating system. So your EOS is your emotional operating system. Your iOS is your intelligent operating system. And your SOS is your spiritual operating system. So, do you operate out of intelligence? Do you operate out of emotions? Or do you operate from spiritual? Your subconscious program is your operating system. And who wrote the subconscious program? Was it the military? Was it the government? Was it your religion? Was it your parents? Where did you have a choice in your subconscious program? The answer is obviously you did. You wrote the subconscious program. You can blame your parents until you're about 21. You can blame the government until you're about 22. You can blame your religion until you're about 23. But at some point, you have to take responsibility for creating the operating system that is holding you back. You have to take responsibility for your self-limiting beliefs, for your self-destructive behaviors, and your automatic negative thoughts. So the formula for mental wellness is to dispel all those things that I just said, to balance the emotions of anger, fear, worry, sadness, loneliness, grief, sorrow, and attachments to things that no longer serve us. You have to take responsibility for yourself. There's no savior that's coming to get you. You have to be your own parent. You have to save yourself. Up until the age of 4, your parents were God. All good things were dispensed from your parents. They changed your diapers. They fed you. They played with you. They gave you toys. They made you happy. They gave you baths. They rubbed you. They tickled you. They played with you. They giggled with you. Your parents were God. And somewhere around the age of 3, 4, 5, you began to separate from your parents. And you said, I'm not you. I don't wanna, and you can't make me. And you created a resistance to your parents trying to control you. Now, initially, their control was to protect you from getting burned or electric shocked or falling or cutting yourself. But at some point, you began to intuit that your parents had another agenda that didn't put you at the top, and you had to make a decision. You have to put yourself at the top. So we're not going to resolve everyone's personal psychological issues in an hour. That's not going to happen. That takes psychiatry, Buddhist psychiatry, Tibetan psychiatry, Chinese psychiatry. It's going to take a while, but we have to strip the outer layers till we get down to what is your core essence. And then you get to decide. You decide. You make the choices of what to add and how to grow. There is no growth without pain. And I'm here to tell you, it hurts, because your cherished beliefs, once you examine them, turn into nothing. It's just ashes and dust. You cannot make sense out of nonsense. We grow up in a world where we think we can analyze what's going on and say, okay, here's the bottom line. This is what this means. This is what that means. I suggest you buy the book, The Wizard of Oz. Don't just watch the movie. Read the book. The man behind the curtain is you. You are the one who created a false reality. You are the one who decided who was your enemy and who was your friend. You decided who is God and who is the devil. And all of those things are illusions. The world is an illusion. It's an agreed upon delusion. But I don't want to take you into too much philosophy, because tonight we're going to do the nuts and bolts of how to get down to zero balance so you can make better choices. Your emotions are the drivers. Should we stay in or should we go out? Should we play Scrabble or should we play chess? Should we watch television or should we play records and dance? What do you feel like? Those are all emotional choices. And your choices reflect in your life 90 days from now, 9 years from now, 20 years from now. So you have to make that decision. And if you want to learn how to zero balance your emotional states, you're going to tune in tonight at 7 o'clock. It's absolutely free, but you got to register. And if you go to the links, below, you will actually see how to get into the webinar this evening.
Open up the door for questions.
Okay, now it's time to Ask Dr. Love. Anything personal about your health, about Asian medicine, acupuncture, herbs, self-massage, magical elixirs, breathing, meditation, internal exercise, the 3 treasures, anything at all, you can ask. I've been doing this for 42 years. I started on the radio in 1992, right here in South Florida, on 1470 on your AM dial, WWNN, the Winners News Network. And I had several iterations of a talk show. So I feel really comfortable doing this. And we actually have a caller with a question.
Please repeat the question. Howdy.
Howdy.
Howdy, howdy. Do you have any views on far infrared therapy?
Do I have any views on far infrared therapy? I think it is excellent. Far infrared therapy, I use it myself frequently. Far infrared therapy penetrates into the body about 5 inches. So it literally heats up the internal of the body, like I want to say being in an oven, but that's not exactly true. So it heats up the body, and in an effort to cool off, the blood rushes to the surface of the skin, the pores of the skin open, and toxins literally come out. So the heat generates an internal vibration that gets rid of internalized toxins. And that's why you need to use far infrared therapy. Will it kill bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites? Absolutely yes. Okay.
Awesome. As we do the emotional release dances in the morning classes, can we accept some issues to come to surface?
Okay, as we do the emotional release dances in the online Qigong class in the morning, can we expect issues to come to the surface? Absolutely yes. That is why we do it, because typically we have a tendency to suppress our emotions. So when we do the dance, the point is to get it out. And sometimes we can look at it and say bye-bye before it takes off.
Yeah, I always notice how I start off angry and happy with the last song. That was Linda, by the way. Linda's always asking great questions. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda, for asking great questions. So this morning I talked about being grumpy when you wake up and then being joyful at the end of the class. And that's what keeps me going. For 5 years, I did Qigong every day with nobody in the class. It was just me and the sun and the sky and the ocean. And then one day, this woman just walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, I see you out here every day. What is it that you do?" And I told her what I was doing. And she said, "I am the coach of the women's Romanian the women's Olympic gymnastic team for the country of Romania. And I love what you're doing. Can I join you?" And she became my very first student. And here's a woman who coaches Olympic gymnastics, and she was learning from me. That blew me away because I wasn't confident in my skill set, which is why I wasn't looking for students. I was just trying to master the movements myself. That was 1999. So 20 years later, here we are, and here you are. And I'm here to share with you a path. There's 7 billion paths to the truth. There's 7 billion people on the planet, and if you draw a circle, this is the planet, and truth is in the center. There's 7 billion paths to the truth. I'm not saying mine is the only way. I'm just saying it's a way.
I have a question for you. If there's so many paths, how do you decide which one resonates with you, which one to go for? How do you dictate the truth from the nonsense?
Okay, so the question is, if there are 7 billion paths to the truth, how do you decide which one works for you? So I was faced with that question because my father, who taught high school biology and chemistry, said always question authority. Always question authority. Look for what's behind the authority. So the first authority for me was religion. So I questioned it, and they could not withstand my scrutiny, and they fell away. So religion, and of course I tried Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and I found out they could not stand the scrutiny. So I went beyond religion. And then I discovered Tibet. And Tibet was being attacked by another country and was taken over, and their libraries were burned and their priests were destroyed. And I'm like, is Tibet, this tiny little country at the roof of the world, why is genocide being perpetrated on this little tiny country? There has to be something there of value. So that led me to Tibet. The way to Egypt is through Tibet. So I went from Tibet, and then I tracked backwards to ancient Egypt. And we all have heard the story about the famous library of Alexandria that was burned several times. But what we don't know is that there is a backstory to ancient Egypt. And on that, I became a historian. So I studied ancient Egypt. I studied Greco civilization. I studied Roman civilization. I studied Persian civilization. I studied Turkish civilization. I studied all the history and philosophy of the East. And as I came back around to Europe, and I came to the Dark Ages, and I saw where they killed 3 million women because they would not submit to the will of religion. That's when I said, okay, that's too much for me to handle. So I looked for teachers who had truth in their heart, not in their words, not in their thoughts, but in their hearts. And so over the last 40 years, I've had 5 significant teachers. And that's how I chose the path that I'm on. And I've mixed the Native American Caribbean path with the West African path, with the Tibetan path, with the Chinese path, with the ancient Egyptian path. And I've combined all those paths into one. So I know that each one of them as a single thread is a path that is true and works. And what I've done is combine those 5 paths into one. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. I have a follow-up question. What does it mean when something resonates with you?
Okay, so there's something called the resonance in residence. So what resonates is a vibration. Okay, so I was all city orchestra, all city band in Philadelphia. So there's 80 instruments in an orchestra. So you have violin, viola, trombone, trumpet, oboe, bassoon, kettlebells, timpani, and they don't all play at the same time. So they all play different parts, and they all give off different resonances. So you got the tuba and the bassoon and the oboe. They don't all play at the same time. So you are a musical instrument. I am also a musical instrument. So if my resonant frequency communicates with your resonant frequency, then we have resonation between us. And I hope that answers your question.
What if we're stuck in reasoning?
In a?
Like trying to reason what you're saying with my beliefs.
Okay.
How do we get out of that?
How do you get out of beliefs? Okay, so that was also a challenge for me because I believed certain things because my parents believed certain things, and people that I looked up to and respected had beliefs, so I wanted to adopt their beliefs. But somewhere between the age 28, 29, 30, I began to realize that beliefs mean absolutely nothing. The only thing that means something is direct knowledge. And the only way you can have direct knowledge is when you meditate. And I resisted meditation just like everyone else. Oh, come meditate with me. Oh, come meditate with me. And I was like, get away from me with your meditation. Meditation, that's not Christian. Meditation, that's not... And then one particular woman fixated on me, and she called me every day. It's time to meditate. It's time to meditate. It's time to meditate. She wasn't asking me to meditate with her. She was just saying, meditate. So finally, I said, stop calling me. I'm never going to meditate. You're bothering me. And she says, I'm going to keep calling you until you meditate. So you might as well just meditate. And I thank God for her persistence, because just to shut her up, the next morning I decided to meditate, and my life went so smoothly. And for the next 3 days, my life went smooth. And I'm like, that's just a fluke. It couldn't be the meditation. So I didn't meditate the fourth day, and I had the crappiest day ever. I missed the bus. I was late to work. My suede shoes got wet. My boss yelled at me. I had to work through lunch. It was horrible. So I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to meditate. Then I had a wonderful day. So for the next 3 weeks, I experimented, meditating, not meditating, meditating, not meditating. And I realized every day that I meditated, my life was smooth. That's direct knowledge. That's not out of a book. So the Buddha said, do not believe anything I say. Test it. And if it doesn't work, throw it away. Do not believe anything I say. Test it. And if it doesn't work, throw it away. That means you have to do a 2-week experiment on yourself in order to verify or not verify what I'm saying. But if you're too lazy to do the self-experimentation, that is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing, but having the expectation of a different result. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I have a question. Can Qigong build or rebuild physical strength, stamina for someone who's lost it?
Can Qigong build or rebuild physical strength? Absolutely yes. There is a famous story of a man who wanted to get a job at a farm. And every time the farmer went looking for him, the guy was sleeping. So he fired the guy and kicked him off his property. And the guy went and hid where some very thick trees were. And every day he stood in front of the tree and he hugged the tree. Not hugged the tree, but did standing meditation holding on to the tree. And then he would sit by the water and watch the water. And then he would stand on one leg. Then he'd stand on the other leg. And then he'd just hang from the tree. And then he would just hang from one arm and then hang from the other arm. And then he would practice back bends. This went on for 3 months. And then the farmer saw him and he said, "Hey, I fired you. I kicked you off my land. What are you doing here?" And the guy said, "I'm ready to work for you now the way you want me to." And the guy became the farmer's hardest worker. And here's a guy who couldn't stay awake for 4 hours. But he practiced his own internal Qigong and became the hardest worker on the farm, and eventually became the foreman of the entire farm. Now that's a famous story in Qigong. I don't know if it's true, I wasn't there, but all I know for myself is I've trained myself to do things I couldn't do when I was 33, 34, and 35 years old. That was easy for me to do at 54, 55, and 56 years old. So training can definitely rebuild your strength.
All right, that's the last of the questions in the final stretch of the podcast.
So thank you all for watching. I honor you for loving yourself enough to find out this information. I hope you share this with your family and your friends, because this is really, really important thing for you to do for yourself, is to build up your own spiritual force, your body, mind, your heart, mind, and your divine mind. And make sure you tune in tonight for the free webinar, The Formula for Mental Wellness, Part 2. So we're going to close with, your health is in your hands. Prevention is the only cure. And you've got to breathe well to be well. For Ask Dr. Love, I'm George Xavier Love. See you tonight.